Hello, I am Dr. Caio Figueiredo. Welcome to Bovineology. Hello, welcome to our first video. I am very happy that we're starting this series talking about my favorite topic, which is postpartum uterine diseases. So, the uterine diseases are the focus of my PhD program, and I like to divide the life of a cow, fertility-wise at least, by calving. So pre-calving and post-calving. So we're going to talk about postpartum uterine diseases, more specifically metritis. So metritis is defined as the inflammation of all uterine layers due to bacterial infection. Metritis happens between the 1st and the 21st day after partum, after calving. So now I want to share my screen with you, and we're going to show some data related to metritis. So as I said, metritis is characterized by the inflammation of all uterine layers due to bacterial infection. There are multiple risk factors that increase the incidence of metritis. So this is a study published in 2010. You can see the reference here on the bottom. And here I want to show you that the concentration in the blood of non-esterified fatty acids 1 to 7 days before parturition was associated with a 60% increase in the occurrence of metritis. This is the cutoff that they used. Likewise, when haptoglobin was measured between 1 and 7 days in milk, animals that have 0.8 grams per liter in the blood increased by almost 2.1 times the incidence of metritis. The incidence, the occurrence of dystocia increased the chances of the occurrence of metritis by twofold. And the occurrence of retained phenol membranes or retained placenta increased the chances by 6 times. So how do we diagnose metritis? Metritis is commonly diagnosed by the visual evaluation of the vaginal discharge. And then we score the vaginal discharge based on 5 points. Metritis is characterized by vaginal discharge 5, which is reddish, brownish, fatted, and watery. Trust me, it is very, very fatted. You cannot see in the video, but we're going to go to the farm one of these days, and I'm going to show you how to diagnose metritis, how the vaginal discharge looks like live, and you're going to see my face. It's really fatted. So there are multiple researches that show the impact of metritis on reproduction, welfare, and economical impacts. Today, we're going to focus on welfare and economical impacts because I want to do one video just about fertility. So in regards to welfare, there's one study published in 2015 that used as a reference of pain, the arching back. So going back in time, using the arching back was used, for example, in the locomotion score. So animals that are lame, you can diagnose them based on how the back arches. So here you can see this is a score. It ranges from 1 to 5. Animals that have a flat back, this suggests that the animal is not in pain, therefore not lame. And then we see that as the animal approaches different levels of arching back and then shifting weight to one limb to the other, it gives us the idea that the animal is in pain, therefore higher grades in the locomotion score. What is very interesting about the paper that I'm going to show you is that it used similar parameters in order to evaluate pain caused by metritis. So here we can see this study was published in 2015. Here's the reference, and this is a picture that I got straight from the paper. So they got a cow. They draw lines on the back of the cow. We can see point A, B, and C. So the line C connects A and B. So we can see there's no palpation here, and then a flat back. And then what they did is they palpated the animals rectally without touching the uterus. And then on the second part of the study, they palpated the uterus as well. So we see that sometimes it's hard to score the locomotion score based on the arching back because there is some level of subjectivity. So one might say it's a level 3, another one might say it's a level 4. So in order to mitigate the effects of subjectivity in this study, what they did is they put numbers into it. So what did they do? So as I told you, there's point A, point B, and line C is the connection between 2 points, right? So we can see that here in the picture right in the middle, there is line D as well. And line D represents the arching back, so the degree of arching back. So what did they do? They calculated the area between line C and line D, and this area represents how much the back arched. And this is a synonym. It gives the idea of pain. So more arching, more pain. So this is the principle that they used. Very smart, right? So in this paper, what they found is that regardless of animals that were palpated and didn't touch the uterus, or if they palpated and touched the uterus, so regardless of the exam, animals with metritis, represented in the gray bars, had greater changes in arching back, so greater area. So this means that metritis is associated with pain, right? So potentially it has an impact on welfare. In addition to this procedure, what they did is they calculated they measured heart rate, and then they also saw that animals with metritis have greater variability in heart rate. So altogether, this study demonstrated that animals with metritis have potentially decreased welfare, therefore they feel more pain, and we're going to see that there are some impacts associated with that. So shifting gears a little bit, now let's talk about the economical impact of metritis. So metritis is associated with reduced milk production throughout the lactation. So this is a study published in 2011 by Whitrock. And here, on purpose, I removed premiparous animals. This means animals that don't had one baby in their lifetime so far. And I want to show you just multiparous. And we see that animals with metritis, multiparous animals with metritis, are represented by the gray line, and animals without metritis are represented in the black line. And we see that there is a gap in milk production. This means that metritis is associated with reduction of milk production at least until the 21st week of lactation in this study. In addition to that, there are multiple other studies that calculated the impact of metritis. For example, this one. This study was published in 2019 by Lima et al. So this study, what they did was they used for calculations 2 protocols for the treatment. One is ampicillin, is an antibiotic that can be used for the treatment of metritis. We're going to talk about all the antibiotics in another video. This is actually going to be the next one. The second antibiotic is ceftiofur, which is the one that is labeled for metritis. And then what they saw is that each case of metritis, if treated with ampicillin, costs around $344, while ceftiofur costs $410. They did 2 financial analyses. One, A, is if you discard the milk while the animal is under treatment. B, if you do not discard, you use this milk to feed calves, for example. All right, Kyle, but why do I have to discard milk? Well, for ceftiofur, there is no milk withdrawal. So it means that you don't have to discard the milk because the metabolites, the subproducts of the antibiotic do not go to the milk. But for ampicillin, yes, it goes to the milk. And we can see that if you looking at this analysis, we have a 23.3% of expenses associated with milk discard for ampicillin. On the other hand, if we look at analysis B, This is the analysis that used the milk that was supposed to be discarded to feed calves, for example. We see that the price per case of metritis treated with ampicillin drops to 267, while for ceftiofur, it keeps constant. Kyle, why did for ceftiofur it kept constant, but for ampicillin, it dropped? Well, as I said, if you use ceftiofur, you do not discard the milk, but if you use ampicillin, you have to discard the milk. But if you're feeding it to the calves, you dropped the expenses with milk replacers, feeding calves, for example. So you drop the price associated with milk discard. Now, what is very interesting to see here, another thing in this study, is that most of the expenses with regardless of any medication is income minus feed cost, and that is the dark blue. So what is that? Is what the cow produces in milk minus how much she costs by each feeding, right? So we see that that's the greatest proportion of expenses when we do this kind of analysis. So what this means is that metritis is a very expensive disease. Each case costs between $267 to $410, depending on what you do with that. But also it means that metritis reduces milk production. And that's one of the reasons why this disease is very expensive. So with that, I would like to conclude that, again, metritis is very, very costly to the industry, especially the dairy industry. And it's a disease that has great potential to detrimental impacts to animal welfare. Thank you for watching. Again, I would like to ask you, if you like the videos, share and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification button. Next episode, we're going to talk about the fertility outcomes associated with metritis. Thank you. See you in the next video.